Today's topic, it's a wowzer, as I would call it. Because when you see this, some of you will be in shock. Some of you might agree. But this will shock you.
Remember all the times that they doubted me, and I knew that I would last, now they proud of me. I was down bad, needed you to help me. Had to get it on my own, every little thing.
This is the Black Adventist Network.
With our stories.
In our voices.
With our solutions.
Welcome to the Black Adventist Network. I'm your host, Dr. Herma.
And I am Dr. Antoinette.
I'm OJ, the millennial.
And I am Professor Truth, bringing you the unadulterated truth.
And we are fourth generation Adventists, giving an unfiltered voice to the issues that concern our community. You know, in Adventist media, you have Hope Channel, 3ABN, but no forum for Black Adventists to be heard. Not anymore. You found it right here at the Black Adventist channel.
On this channel, we'll discuss sports, religion, marriage, Black life. But today's topic, it's a wowzer, as I would call it. Today's topic is a video. And let me give you a disclaimer, because some of you out there that have a heart condition, this may not go so well.
Woo.
So if you have a defibrillator, bring it close.
Woo.
You know, if you have your medication, take it. Because when you see this, some of you will be in shock. Some of you might agree. But this will shock you.
All right.
And you have participated in Black Lives Matter movement, stop it now. Let me be nice. Let me smile a little bit. Let me gather my notes. I just want to be nice. Because I don't like harsh preaching. Right? You ready? Just be nice. But I'm going to be straightforward, though. If you have a Black Lives Matter t-shirt, get rid of it today. Well, Pastor Alvin, I'm not into the spiritualism. Why would anyone who is specifically a Seventh-day Adventist want to be part of a movement at its core is witchcraft? And you want to be a part of that? Brothers and sisters, they were marching at Andrews. I can call the names. But I'm not going to do that. You know why? You know why I believe? They didn't know better. They didn't know better, just like me.
You know, I have a big problem with the video, and I am concerned about a number of things, because he talked about Black Lives Matter movement being of witchcraft and spiritualism. And he talked about all the different reasons that he thinks that Black Adventists shouldn't participate in the movement, but he never really talked about what we need to be doing. So we find that, you know, in our church, millennials, for example, are leaving our church left and right because they're saying, how can we belong to a religion that doesn't care about the oppressed and the poor? And that is not the message of the church. That is not even the biblical call of what Christians are to do. We are to care about the oppressed and the poor. So if you're not participating in Black Lives Matter, what are you doing out there to talk about injustices? And that message was totally missing. You can't say don't participate in Black Lives Matter and just sit on the sidelines and benefit from the work of what Black activists are doing in terms of police brutality for you, a Black man.
Go ahead, Herma, with your bad self. You know, I think about the first question that comes to mind is Black Lives Matter a religious movement? Isn't it a movement for human rights, for social justice? That's what it's for. It's not a religious movement. It's not a movement that, you know, Adventists running behind another religion that's developing something for a specific religion. I mean, what is the core of Black Lives Matter? If you look at their website, they look at this as an intervention, the movement as an intervention, right? an intervention, as in they want to end police brutality, and it's for society to value Black people because we're not valued. So this is what the movement is for: intervention to end police brutality and to value Black people. So you're saying that because you have different groups of people who are represented in this group or who's following this group, we have different religions, different cultural beliefs, different people who pray, people who don't pray, people who pray to Mary, people who, you know, have different beliefs, are rallying and supporting this cause. And because they're different than us, we should just step back, and only if it pertains to Adventism is when we should jump and support this cause. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't serve a God who will only just be one directional and only care what goes on with only one religion, that only that group of people is who he cares about. Nah.
So if I may, you guys made some wonderful points, right? And I agree with everything you.
Come on, Professor.
Everything you said. So I'm gonna say this. I can't remember this gentleman's name. I have to watch the video, but it was a difficult video to watch, especially coming from another Black man. And especially coming from a preacher. Preachers in our denomination, I'm gonna always bring you the unadulterated truth. Know the history of our church when it comes to race relations. I think Benjamin Baker says, he put it in a very eloquent quote. He said that the Jim Crow and the culture, the mindset of Jim Crow has been dominant in our denomination. And for him to say what he said and the way he said it gives credence to that error and those people, still the same mindset. And Dr. Antoinette said something positively correct, and I was thinking the same thing. In the Black Lives Matter movement, and I'm gonna get to what movement is in a minute, there are many different people. They're Christians, they're non-Christians, they're Muslims, there are people of all walks of life agreeing and seeing from the George Floyd murder what has been going down that we've been talking about for a long time. And they're saying this is not right. They're not talking about witchcraft. They're not talking about whatever. They're simply, and he even said it himself. 99% of people don't know what you really talk. The movement of Black Lives Matter. We're not even talking about the organization. We're talking about the movement. The reason why everybody's out started, just like he said, from the Trayvon Martin murder. And on Facebook and social media, people were so hurt and harmed by this. Really, some people got physically sick. I was pretty close to that. Said hashtag Black People Matter. That's when it started. And then it's changed to Black Lives Matter, and it took off. And then later on, there's there's some co-founders. No one really cares about a co-founder leadership. We are
don't even know who they are.
Correct. And
right.
I don't even believe they're the ones that started that hashtag Black. But then somebody find out, just like somebody ran with it and said, you know what, maybe we need to develop this into some type of organized thing. But they're not the ones who started the hash. What I'm trying to say is this. If that preacher would read the spirit of prophecy, would understand where we came from as a people. The Millerites were abolitionists. Ellen White was a staunch adversary versus slavery and an abolitionist. That's where we started from. Matter of fact, in the Ellen White, in her writings, at one point, the North was winning the fight against the South. And it displeased God because slavery was that part of the conversation to be removed. So he made them start to lose. And that's when Abraham Lincoln stepped in and said, hey, we need some help. We're going to get these slaves coming in. So it is very important. The devil's not on board to stop oppression of the Black people. That's insane. That's insane. So the Black Lives Movement
Right.
When you have people that are righteous in that movement or not righteous.
Right.
Everybody knows it is about the oppression of African American people in this country. And like he said, everybody around the world can see what's going on in our country. And matter of fact, our country influences other countries. So there is also Black oppression in other countries. So when they're saying Black Lives Matter, they're also talking about a portion of their country that the Black folks is dealing with.
Good point. Good point.
Right.
So I'll stop there.
Go ahead.
So, you know, when I watched this video, a couple of things stood out to me because, you know, whenever we start talking about an avenue for Black people to express themselves, we always get technical. That's the way I look at it. So people are being oppressed. Black folks are being oppressed. We start a forum or a movement to showcase solidarity, and then we always get in there and nitpick the little things that we may see happen. So you see somebody throw some water over here or call somebody's name out. You know, the fact of the matter is that person's not around anymore to really speak for themselves. So we have to unite and speak for them. So, you know, when we get into different movements and different things that are going on, and then we start to nitpick and tear it down, then what do we have? We've been so accustomed to doing this that now it becomes the norm. And now, as people of our faith, of our church, you know, our church isn't stepping out and really saying, hey, this shouldn't happen. So how do we do that? That's a bigger question that I have. Like, how do we get out and speak in solidarity for our people?
You know, a couple of things even struck me when he said that, you know, this is about witchcraft. That's not the mission of the movement. And you have people of different religious background. When you take a look at even the civil rights movement, Black Adventists shouldn't have gotten involved because some of those leaders for the civil rights movement were not Adventists, and they were into things that we totally object to, like philandering and a whole lot of other things, right?
Right.
But we are called to stand up for the poor and the oppressed. When do we do that, sir? If you're saying don't participate in the Black Lives Movement, my concern is, when do we do that?
Yeah.
We just sit back, and if you think it's witchcraft, shouldn't we as Christians then be in the heart of the movement to witness? Instead of saying stay away from the movement, you should be saying, Adventists, get out there with tracts
Right
all day, every day.
Right. Right. Yeah,
I'm really disturbed by the lack of concern for human rights, the lack of concern for the poor and the oppressed, and this tradition that we have in our church where we seem to be unconcerned about social issues, in particular when they affect us as a Black community. And it is very disturbing that one of our own, a Black person, would speak with such passion about staying away from the movement. I wish I had seen that amount of passion and anger I saw in that sermon.
Right, and I think
for other Blacks who died at the hands of the police.
That is so very good point. I think I'm going to say it. I think it was very irresponsible of the preacher to make those comments in the context in which he did, especially as an influencer, because preachers are influencers, and you have those folks in the congregation who don't return home and dissect what was being said, or most people don't typically go back and do their own research. And he is really, what he's putting out is this guilty by association spin. It's like, if you support this movement and the founder of the movement believes in an African chant that invokes power for change, because they're going about it, because their belief is, chant this because we want change, that everybody who is in the movement is automatically guilty of feeling.
Delegitimize it.
The same way. And that's misleading, and his research is misleading. research, you do your research, right? And then you interpret. That's his interpretation of the research.
It's a misinterpretation. It's a misinterpretation.
Right, right.
Misinterpretation.
If I may, it's like this, right? Like I said, there's all walks of life in the Black Lives Movement, right? And what he's trying, our leadership, this is a Black Adventist network, so I'm gonna tell it like it is. Our leadership from the top, right, has not, we weren't present in civil rights movements, right? We're hardly present out there right now, right? So our leadership, and I mean all at the top, the guys at the top, they struggle. They struggle with civil rights when it comes to Black folks. They do, they struggle. We all know it, we don't like to talk about it, but they do. They weren't there in the civil rights, they're not there now. And what it does, it creates an environment of that type of thinking and this is the church. It creates a division where it should bring us together in unity. It creates a division like, we shouldn't talk about this. It's political. We don't want to get out there and send the wrong message. But we send the wrong message to a large portion of people in and without of the church when we don't take a stand. One, the brethren like myself that are Black, like, where is the Jesus? Jesus was an activist. You know, he went out there and he did things that associated with people he shouldn't be associated. He helped the oppressed. He did all these different things. And so what happens is this preacher, he basically is delegitimizing, because obviously this individual did not do enough research. He's talking about, oh, what I learned in the last week or 2 weeks. He did not do enough research to make this sermon. Because what happens, just like certain news channels like Fox and what have, delegitimize the protest by focusing on rioters. Forget about the cause. It's rioters. People out here it's riot. They change the word protest to riot. Oh, we can't even hear nothing else. They do this. They essentially do this. Yo, it's terrible that Black folks is getting killed out here, but y'all got to stop rioting. It's crazy. It's madness. When it should be, man, these rioters out here, man, are just crazy. But y'all got to stop killing and oppressing these Black folks. It's terrible. That's the same thing this preacher is doing here. So let's say, Pastor, I believe you. This lady, they did witchcraft, whatever. You're taking a small population portion, I mean, a very minute, because like you said, 99% of these people don't even know. Right. You're taking a small population, and you're saying, oh, this whole thing, it's a farce. It's crazy. We are Babylonians. We doing what Saul did and talking to soothsayers. That y'all speak.
They doubted me, and I knew that I would last. Now they proud of me. I was down bad, needed you to help me. Had to get it